God damn it.
Back yet again, my only bad habit, my addiction to win. She only mad at it, did it better than the friends. You better have cheddar to attend. Rained out with leather on the trim. Get together with the slim. Mermaid who came on a swim. Way to the gym. To my tips to the spin. Turn trick for the fucking ends. Return dick for the fucking gym. You up a bitch to the end. Come again, come again. You running with the room, sip rum to the gin. Baby, work it out like cannons in the gym. Hey, fella for fella, I'm better than the 10. 11 in the 10, about 12 in the skin. Young mademoiselle, the devil with butter. I'm giving them hell, you bitches getting nada. Moving to the metronome, moving to the metronome, moving to the metronome. Let the beat set the tone. Moving to the metronome, moving to the metronome. I need full control, cause I really wanna let it go. Moving to the metronome, moving to the metronome, moving to the metronome. Let the beat set the tone. Moving to the metronome, moving to the metronome. I need full control. Cause I really wanna let it go. Moving to the metronome, moving to the metronome, moving to the metronome. Let the beat set the tone. Moving to the metronome, moving to the metronome. I need full control, cause I really wanna let it go. I need full control, cause I really wanna let it go. Moving to the metronome, moving to the metronome, moving to the metronome. Let the beat set the tone. Moving to the metronome, moving to the metronome. I need full control, cause I really wanna let it go. Moving to the metronome, moving to the metronome, moving to the metronome. Let the beat set the tone. Moving to the metronome, moving to the metronome. I need full control, cause I really wanna let it go. Moving to the metronome. I need full control, cause I really wanna let it go. Moving to the metronome. I need full control, cause I really wanna let it go. Won't wait until it's all over. 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 Won't wait until it's
Shit, I'm not doing well.
Hi, can you all hear me? How are we doing? I think
We're good now. We're good. Thank you.
okay. Should I restart
Start from
my
the top,
spiel?
baby. Start from the top.
Start from the top. Okay, let me drop this. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Hector A. Rivera. I am your host for this event for a socialist drag show. And I'm coming from the house of Tempest. Tempest is a revolutionary socialist collective, and we are active around the country. I want to share a few words about this event. As you might know, this is a political fundraiser and also an event in solidarity with queer, trans, GNC communities who have been under attack by the right. And part of what we're trying to do with this event is tap into, promote, and foster the political history of drag. Drag shows, drag queens, and the art of drag is a gender-bending art form that seeks to challenge the binaries and heteronormativity of capitalist society. We understand drag as part of a gender rebellion against the imposed structures of the family that benefit capitalism. And we also know that the history of drag is really powerful, all the way from drag queens like Marsha P. Johnson that were central participants in the Stonewall Uprising that has pushed the politics of queer and trans liberation. Also, right, we honor those allies, comrades, and drag queens that also helped support the LGBTQ community through the AIDS crisis in the 80s, where drag shows raised millions of dollars for people seeking healthcare. Part of the reason why we're also having this event is as a bashback, a pushback against the attack on the far right. 2020 has been a year of reaction against 22, excuse me, has been a year of reaction against the trans community and trans youth across the country. For example, there have been 238 anti-LGBTQ bills introduced across the country. Half of those bills specifically target trans people. For example, in Texas, we see the exclusion of trans people from gender affirming care. In Florida, we also saw the introduction of the Don't Say Gay bill. And 10 other states are also banning Medicare coverage for gender affirming care for youth and adults. In addition, as you might know, there has also been an attack against books that feature queer characters and queer issues. For example, out of the 850 books that are being banned in Texas, 60% of those books address LGBTQ people or issues. And furthermore, we have seen the attack by the far right, for example, the Proud Boys disrupting drag queen story hour events in California, Massachusetts, and also right-wing politicians have been crashing and trying to stop drag queen story hour readings in New York City as well. So I really want to encourage everyone to help us out, donate throughout the event. And also, I want to share a really good article that has been very useful for me to understand the right-wing backlash, which is an article we published in Tempest Mag earlier in the month. It's by our very own Eric Maloney. The article is titled "The Alt-Right Anti-Trans Crusades." Okay, so I recommend that you check that article for left strategy and an understanding of this backlash. Great. So I'm going to be introducing our first performer. Okay, our first performer is Lady Carly Marks. Lady Carly Marks is an American drag performer, painter, and pop artist. They are originally from Michigan, but are based in Chicago, Illinois. Marx's drag persona and name are a play off of Karl Marx and Marx's communist pop art aesthetics and the intersections of critical theory, and queer liberation theology, which is awesome. Great, so let's get ready to welcome our very own Lady Carly Marks. Sorry for the technical issues. We're gonna get the audio sorted out in a minute, okay? We're all doing this live, so there are a few technical glitches.
Thank you. I am two-time Golden Globe winner, Jim Carrey. You know, when I go to sleep at night, I'm not just a guy going to sleep. I'm two-time Golden Globe winner, Jim Carrey, going to get some well-needed shut-eye. When I dream, I don't just dream any old dream. No, sir. I dream about being three-time Golden Globe winning actor Jim Carrey. Because then I would be enough. It would finally be true. And I could stop this terrible search.
You're tuned to Dawn FM, the middle of nowhere on your dial. So sit back and unpack. You may be here a while. Now that all future plans have been postponed, and it's time to look back on the things you thought you owned, do you remember them well? Were you high or just stoned? And how many grudges did you take to your grave? When you weren't liked or followed, how did you behave? Was it often a dissonant chord you were strumming? Were you ever in tune with the song life was humming? If the pain's living on when your body's long gone and your phantom regret hasn't let it go yet, you may not have died in the way that you must. All specters are haunted by their own lack of trust. When you're all out of time, there's nothing but space. No hunting, no gathering, no nations, no race. And heaven is closer than those tears on your face. When the purple rain falls, we're all bathed in its grace. Heaven's for those who let go of regret.
Bad girl, talking about your sad girl, yeah. Tell me something. Can you buy enough? Can you ever sell enough? Can you ever make enough? Can you ever have enough? You may ask yourself just who they are, but like so many of the others, they wanna be stars. Yeah.
Jesus is my virtue. Judas is the demon I cling to. Sometimes it all feels so revealing. But please know, there's nothing I'm concealing. My name is Lee Carney Marks. This is my story. And this is our house.
Sometimes it all feels so revealing. But most of all, please know there's nothing I can say. A traveler driving, a booker booking, a promoter paying, to live in your calm.
Thank you, everyone.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Okay. Can I get some virtual claps? Thank you. Thank you. And also don't forget to check the links in the chat for the Cash apps. Okay, so just FYI, because capitalism sucks and it fails every day, I am having some technical difficulties with my Wi-Fi. Ugh. Anyway, so I'm gonna keep my camera off for this portion. But thank you so much, Lady Carly Marks. I really have been liking the way that you push these challenges on capitalist aesthetics and pop art. I have a few questions and that I would love to check in with you and discuss. You ready?
Absolutely.
Okay, fabulous. Great. So first of all, I just want to say that I've been gagging over your performances that I've seen on YouTube. I love how the audience reaction sometimes is like confusion, bewilderment, and people vibing and just going along for this ride, which is really awesome. I have just wanted to ask, what drew you to this drag character, which is so irreverent and I think ahead of the curve, even when it comes to drag and queer culture.
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Thank you to everyone who organized this event. I'm honored to be here and sharing this space with you all and sharing my art with you. She was born in 2016 amidst a year of chaos, capitalism and decay, fascism at large with, Trump and even Hillary's neoliberal politics and the politics of the two-party system. I believed in the American dream. I was taught what I was taught when I was younger. I thought I could be a good Democrat, that kind of story. But then, 2016 really opened my eyes. I did a lot of studying in school, a lot of radicalization and just personal journeys that have led me to this queer communist pop dada artist. I'm also obsessed with Lady Gaga and Warholian Basquiat herring type of art. So that's where she comes from.
That's really, really awesome. Thank you. I also wanted to ask you briefly about the political legacy of drag. I mentioned a few words about that at the beginning, but I wanted to ask you, how do you tap into or how do you find inspiration from the political history of political legacy of drag for your persona?
Yeah, I mean, you said the greats, some of the greats already, like Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera, the Stonewall, the other trans siblings and icons who led the way for the modern gay queer liberation movement. But I mean, all the way up until their death, I always think about how Sylvia Rivera died homeless in the 21st century. I believe it was like 2001 or 2 or 3. Like we didn't take care of our ancestor. And so I feel that this movement has to sort of evolve into something that would honor their legacy and come to the full power of what we're supposed to be doing instead of this capitalist driven movement that's been co-opted by capitalism and money. So I'm always thinking about them. Drag, for me, drag is a ritual. It's very sacred. It's very expressive of who we are, and it makes me feel less crazy, even though I might look crazy. All these people, I tried to show you as much as I could with being in my own space, like my Frida Kahlo book that I adore, and just art all over the place. All of these just great artists from the past who who have done the work. I really love artists, activists, people who are speaking with their art.
Great, thank you. Just a brief intermission. I do want to share my fit briefly. You can also get our Tempest teas from our comrades around the country if anybody wants one of these awesome teas. And again, just a reminder that this is a fundraiser, so we do have links for our artists who are performing and also for Tempest as well. I have a follow-up question. The 2020 the 2020 protests, for example, were a breakthrough moment for trans politics with the emergence of the slogan Black Trans Lives Matter, which was also riding with the energy of the George Floyd uprising of that year. And since then, we've seen a backlash, not only against Black liberation, but we've also seen a backlash against trans liberation. How do you, thinking about this political moment we are in, what has been something that you're trying to push, or some politics that you are trying to promote with your drag shows or also other speaking engagements? Because I also know that you also do public speaking and where you try to explain part of what you're doing.
Yeah, 2020 was another year, and I'm hopeful and fearful for 2024, and just more hopeful than anything for the years to come. And so my politics is that of a stress of solidarity for each other and how human we all really are. Capitalism makes us so alienated from our bodies every single day, and in so many moments it sucks. So when we come together instead of compete, and when we collaborate instead of judge, those are the spaces that I often find myself in, and surrounding myself with people that do the same thing. And that's how we're all here today. So I'm very excited to have you all now as comrades in my network. And that's just what we're going to keep doing. I know the left is often sort of stigmatized as never being organized or never being united, but that's what they always want us to believe. So even getting rid of left and right politics, it's truly the 99% versus the 1%. And united, we will change the world and create the world that we want to live in together.
Yes, honey, sign me up. Okay, the one last question. What's coming up for you this fall, for example? Any events? Where can comrades and followers see you? Because we do have 2 other speakers, and we're only getting to hear a little bit from what you're doing. But where can other people see you perform or do more public speaking this fall?
I'm always active on the social media, as much as I despise it. It's a good tool to organize and share art with each other. So check me on Instagram. My thing is always shifting and morphing and changing, which is part of the persona. But I'll be doing a few events here in Chicago. Something this Thursday in Wicker Park area of Chicago, if anyone's here. See my social medias, and then a few other performances next month as well. But I always love to make digital art accessible art, and just push it out as far and as wide as we can get with the messages of love, art, and peace and unity.
Sweet, thank you so much. It's been awesome to have you and have you inaugurate our socialist drag show, and we look forward to more performances in person and also digital virtual. We will keep following you also on social media. All right, everyone. The next speaker for our event is Afsaneh Moradian. Afsaneh is a longtime activist, writer, homeschooling coach, and LGBTQIA+ advocate. Afsaneh is the author of the Jamie is Jamie series and also writes about education and current events. The book Jamie and Bubby series has been featured at Drag Queen Story Hour events, and it was also one of the books that the far right protested in San Lorenzo, if I'm not mistaken. Right, so everyone, can I get some virtual claps and welcome for Afsaneh?
Hi, everyone.
Afsaneh, it's great to be here with you. I know that we've been together in person in other spaces and virtually as well. It's been a minute. So I was super excited when I heard that you were going to be speaking at this event. And I also want to really congratulate you on the success of your book series, which has been very awesome and started very humbly with one book, but it really struck a chord, right? I have a few questions. So this section is going to be run as a Q&A, as a author discussion. So I want to just ask you a few questions to start. Can you tell us about the Jamie is Jamie series and what inspired you to write these picture books, these children's books?
Sure. Oh, I'm so excited to be here with everyone. Thank you, Carly Marks. That was really awesome. I got into writing picture books because there's always a need that has to be filled. And I think that's where a lot of books come from in general. So for my own child, they just weren't able to see themselves in any of the picture books that we read. And I needed to do something to create space for all of the kids who, when they're preschool age, don't really fit into like, I'm a girl and I like the girl toys, and I'm a boy and I like all the boy toys, even though that's still being forced on kids. Like, you know, for me as a kid of the 80s, it's not supposed to be like that anymore, but it still totally is. When you go to the toy section, it's all color coded, and there's a lot of emphasis on what, you know, gender means for young children and what they should play with and all of that. So the first book that I wrote, Jamie is Jamie, is all about just play your way, be free to be yourself and play your way. And Jamie, we don't have any indication if Jamie is boy, girl, transgender, non-binary. Jamie is whatever kids need Jamie to be. And Jamie shows up at school and just plays with everything and everyone and has fun, and all the other kids, at first they're a little confused, and then they just really want to be friends with Jamie because Jamie's awesome. So that is the point of the first book. And I think that's why it resonated so much, because it really is the freedom that kids need to just be themselves and know that that's enough, and they should be loved and respected and celebrated for who they are. And then the series grew, and there became a need to really explain pronouns. So, you know, as Hector already said, Jamie and Bubby, a book about people's pronouns, is that Jamie spends the day with great grandma Bubby, and Bubby's so confused about what pronouns to use and judging people based on hairstyles. And, you know, there's a transgender character who Bubby's using the dead name and the dead pronouns, and Jamie has to like catch Bubby up to speed, which I think is true for a lot of us adults. We gotta like catch up to speed a little bit. There's a singular they, pronouns have changed, people change their pronouns, you know, gender is a fluid spectrum, and we can't really, you know, use the language that we grew up with that we're used to. We have to like really catch up to speed. And then the third book that just came out last summer, Jamie's Class Has Something to Say, a book about sharing with grownups. That's really about self-advocacy for even the youngest kids, that as adults, we need to listen to what kids actually think, what they like, what they dislike, what's important to them. And we really have to respect them as individuals. So if a 4-year-old says that they don't identify with the gender they were born with, we need to take that seriously and respect that and be supportive of that. And if a child says that they don't want to wear something that we think they should wear, we should really listen. So, you know, adults sometimes have expectations of what we think kids should do and say and like and be, and it doesn't fit with who kids actually are. And so again, we need to kind of take a step back off, really listen to what our kids are saying, and create the most affirming, validating, respectful spaces that are inclusive that we possibly can for all the kids in our lives and all the adults. But I focus on kids. So we need that as adults too, but you know, I write picture books. So that's where the series came from and what it's doing, and it's going to continue to grow. There's 1 or 2 more books in the works for the future, and it's just really, there's tips in the back for adults. It's really about how do we use healthy communication to validate and create the kinds of spaces that kids need. So kids love the books, but they're also, you know, kind of arguments with adults about ways to kind of change and shape up and, you know, be able to give kids what they need these days.
Great, thank you so much. I have a few more political questions, but I just wanted to kind of keep talking about the Jamie is Jamie series a little bit. I started sharing children's books with my nieces and nephews and really saw how they gravitated to these books. They saw themselves in some of these characters, whether it was children facing challenges or children of color as well. And it was a really awesome way for me to bond with my nieces and nephews. And just the way that they have grown, the way that their vocabulary has also grown is amazing, and how they can also express even more complex emotions as well. So I'm looking forward to sharing your books with them as well. But can you tell us a little bit more? You shared that there's 2 more coming out. Can we just get a little tidbit on what those books are going to address?
Oh, I don't know yet. I can't tell you right now.
Sweet.
It's
Okay,
very much in the
great.
works.
Very
No.
much in the works. Okay, great. Cool. Let me just let's just move into some more of our political questions as well. So what do you think that it's important that young people be exposed to LGBTQIA characters and gender variants, particularly in this political climate?
So there's been a radical shift. I don't know if everyone on this at this event today keeps up with children's culture, pop culture. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But there's been a radical shift in pop culture for kids that is far more diverse and inclusive than ever before. It's still not even close to enough, but it's far more than ever before. And there's this understanding about representation, that children need to see themselves in the media that they're consuming, in the books that they're reading. And to not do that causes a lot of damage. So it becomes really important that there be books that reflect kids who don't fit the rigidity of, you know, what it means to be a boy or a girl. And it becomes very important that that trans kids can see themselves in picture books, and that it become quite normal and a regular thing, right? So kids don't really have a problem with it. Even the youngest kids can use the singular they, but it matters if there's picture books that are reinforcing what they're already hearing and what they're learning and what they're seeing. And so it becomes really important for kids to be able to see themselves in books. And then it's super important for kids who maybe don't identify with Jamie as a character, see Jamie as a friend, so that when they meet kids, right, this matters also for disability, for a whole range of issues. Then when you meet a child who is similar to Jamie, or is autistic, or is in a wheelchair, all the kinds of things picture books cover, you're not scared by the difference. You're not put off. You don't think it's weird. You know, like, oh, I know a kid like that in the books that I've read, and I want to be your friend, and I want to know you. And that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to counter bullying. We're trying to counter this idea that, you know, like we got when we were kids, everybody has to be the same. And if you're not like that, then you're going to be tortured and you're going to suffer throughout your childhood. Like, we don't want that, but kids don't want that either. Kids are not going to go back in the closet. Kids are trans by age 4. Kids are non-binary. Kids are very loud and proud about who they are and what they want and, you know, what they need. And then it's up to us as adults to give that to them. So some adults are kind of really shaken, like, how can a 4-year-old know they're trans? There weren't trans 4-year-olds when I was a kid. And it's because there just wasn't the space and the freedom to be yourself and be who you are and figure it out. And that vocabulary didn't really exist. So that's why kids today can be so much clearer and express who they are. And part of that is having picture books that affirm and validate who they are, what they're going through in life, and help name the feelings and all that sort of stuff, right? That's our job as picture book writers.
Great, thank you. And you're getting a lot of love in the chat. People are talking about how awesome your books have been and how important they're also in schools. So it's really awesome. We're so excited to have you here. I wanted to ask you about just a little bit about how your books got picked up by Drag Queen Story Hour, for example. As some comrades on this call, on this viewers might know, one of the reasons why drag queens also started doing story hour readings in libraries, right? In addition to promoting public spaces and libraries, but also promoting literacy, right? It was about humanizing trans people, normalizing the presence of trans and drag people as well. Were you surprised that your books were picked up by drag story hours? What was your reaction? Was that like something that you thought would happen when you wrote them, or how did that happen?
I don't know exactly how they found my books, but it's a perfect fit. I mean, from one of the first readings that I did of Jamie is Jamie, a man came up to me right after the reading who happened to be a gay man in his 30s and said, "That was me. I was Jamie when I was a kid. And I really needed a book like that." And it, sucked that I didn't have one. So I think that Jamie is the first book resonates on so many different levels with every kid who just doesn't fit the mold and just wants to do things in their own way and, feel free. They need to feel free. So I think that's very much in line with the spirit of Drag Story Hour. And the second book, there are books that talk about different pronouns that are fantastic for kids. There aren't that many narratives. So Jamie and Bubby is actually a story that you can relate to. You can identify with these characters. You can enter their world and their experience while you're learning about how to use pronouns, that pronouns change, how to use a singular they, not to make assumptions, all that sort of stuff. So it made a lot of sense to me that, it seemed like a pretty natural pairing, to be honest. And Drag Story Hour reads a lot of really wonderful books, and they even have their own, the hips on the drag queen go swish, 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 I think is their book that they read a lot. And there's a coloring book. I don't know if that's the coloring book. I don't have it, but there's some really great stuff that they read. So if you haven't been to one of their story hours, everybody should go. I mean, maybe you should take a kid so it doesn't seem creepy, but you should definitely go and check it out.
Thank you so much. Yes. So awesome. So let me move into one of our more recent issues that has been happening with these Drag Queen Story Hour events. What was your reaction to the attack at the reading that happened in San Lorenzo, California, here in the Bay Area? And also, right, where your book has been more recently read in Brooklyn as well, which there was also an attack on that reading in Brooklyn.
Yeah, and also in Jackson Heights, in Queens, Drag Story Hour has been under attack. I think that, and in other parts of the country also, I think that comes from the top in the United States. There's this very aggressive message coming from politicians and from, some media pundits that there is this danger for your children, that they are going to be turned trans if they are exposed to these things, and you must protect your children. And there's a lot, since the days of Trump, there's a lot of confidence given for people to take it upon themselves and act on their own violently at times to disrupt, to, really do something about this crisis, right? That's this huge danger for our children. So I think for me, I mean, the first thing is these are events for children. So the idea that adults are going to show up and loudly disrupt and boo and, yell and all this stuff, that's horrifying for children. So it really speaks to how little these people, the Proud Boys and the other people doing this stuff, how little they actually care about kids. Because you would never show up to a children's event and do that and expect that to be for the, the goodness of children, right? So I think what's been really important about it is how adults have responded. And I know specifically in Jackson Heights and Queens, New York City, adults have made a circle around the event, holding hands to really protect the kids, protect the reader, and create a safe space. And that's really what this is all about. And unfortunately, the right doesn't want there to be a safe space to be a drag queen, to be gay, to be trans, to be non-binary. They want to take away those safe spaces. So it's all the more reason to really come out in numbers wherever you live. You should find out where a Drag Story Hour is having an event and see if you need to show up to help protect it, right? To make sure it stays a safe space.
Yes, thank you. That's really important, right? It's important for us to show up, be there for our community, be there for children, literacy, libraries, and also public spaces. Because under capitalism, under neoliberalism, a lot of those public spaces where community can gather and share without having to consume, a lot of those spaces are being privatized or shut down. I think that's part of understanding the broader attack on trans people, but also on drag queens, right? Is that these these are public spaces that people have fought for as well. And the right wing has a specific understanding of which communities should get those resources as well. I have one more question. We might have one more question from the audience as well. So let me see if our attendant who wants to ask a question can type the question in the chat. We will ask that. I have one last question for you though, before that. Why do you think that the political right has targeted books about books like Jamie and Bubby, for example, right? Or books that feature trans or queer issues, trans people or queer issues?
Yeah, so I'm sure people are familiar with the attack on critical race theory that's been going on around the country. And with that is an attack on social emotional learning. And that is one of the main things that picture books and children's books focus on is social emotional learning. So it runs the gamut from talking about picture books that feature trans characters and also disabled characters, also diverse characters, multicultural characters, but it also includes emotions and being able to name emotions and what to do when you get angry, what to do when you feel sad. And that has been very much under attack. Florida is a state that's really leading the way with this, where you can't say gay, but also you can't, you're not supposed to have the Jamie books in your classrooms. You're not supposed to use the word inclusion in a public classroom. There's a whole bunch of rules around this stuff. And it's very much, a divide and conquer type of thing, but it's also so damaging because what it does is it creates climates where you're not supposed to exist if you're different, and you're definitely not supposed to exist if you're trans. So if you look at a state like Texas and the law that they just passed, it has other people policing parents of trans kids and reporting them to the state if they take their trans children for any sort of gender affirming healthcare. So that includes teachers, that includes, who is that? Those are your neighbors, those are the teachers, those are, the people that are around these kids who are kind of like spying on that and ready to report that. So it's one of the reasons why I love to talk about these books and write these books and read them for kids, because if you don't use a correct pronoun, if you don't create gender inclusive spaces, you're telling children that their existence is wrong, that they don't have the right to be themselves, or there's something wrong about who they are. And then you get these very high suicide rates amongst trans and LGBTQIA kids, right? So it becomes at a certain point, it's a matter of life or death. It's not just access to a soccer team, it's access to a childhood where you get to fit in and be included and be a part of it. And in the absence of that, you get this very clear message from the powers that be, in your life, who are the adults in your life, that there is something wrong with you and that you are not okay and you're not supposed to be who you are. So you either need to conform and go back into the closet in some form, or you need to have access to books and adults who love you and are going to tell you that you're awesome for who you are, or you're going to suffer the consequences of that. And that's what makes this fight so important and so key. And I think there's lots of different ways to get involved in it. But I think what Hector said about these being public spaces necessitates that people enter those spaces to defend these ideas, to defend these books, to defend these discussions and the right to exist. So this isn't really something that we can take care of in private, right? We have to publicly go out into the world to defend these spaces. And I know this is my last question, so I really just wanted to squeeze in how confident and how much this is growing. There's been an increase in attacks on Drag Story. So Drag Queen Story Hour changed its name to Drag Story Hour, by the way. I don't know if everyone knows that. So that's why I keep saying Drag Story Hour. There's just been increased attacks on it. So there are people who physically show up to, boo the events and stuff. But in Raleigh, North Carolina, a state representative sent an email to a newspaper saying that parents had successfully organized to stop a Drag Story Hour event from happening at an art museum in Raleigh, North Carolina. And they were so successful, their protests were so successful that they got the museum to take the event off of their website. Wow. But there was never an event. It never existed. So what the right can do is they can fabricate their victories in order to build confidence for other people to gain confidence to go out and protest these types of events. So we really need to keep our eyes open and really be ready to show up and be, involved in creating safe spaces for these kinds of things, because there's no shame, right? There's no more accurate reporting. There's, that doesn't have to happen. They didn't call Drag Story Hour. They didn't call the art museum. They didn't double check any of that information. They just ran the article. So I really think we have to keep our eyes open for, when they say that they've had these victories, did they really, or is it just, fabricated to build confidence for their side, which is actually quite weak, but can grow the more confident they feel. If they feel like they're winning, more people will join in. So I think, there's always, someone just asked how to get involved. I mean, you can contact Drag Story Hour. They have local chapters around the US if that's something that you want to, show up to those events and help protect them. But also, like, I've seen reports of stuff happening at Pride festivals, just any time there are like family friendly, inclusive events, there tends to be pushback. So I think there's a lot of different ways to get involved in this.
Great. Thank you so much, Afsaneh. And just a quick last question. Where can we follow you? Do you have like a social media presence or any upcoming readings events or virtual presence coming up?
Yeah, well, first of all, you should definitely get a copy of the books for every young person in your life, because they need it. And, you can definitely, if you've got a local library, you can definitely, buy it for the library or ask the library to get it so that kids have access to these books. And they're available on Amazon, or you can get it directly from the publisher. And you can follow me on Instagram, maradian.afsaneh, or on Twitter, writer Afsaneh. I'm not like super mega into social media, but I post some stuff and all that. And if you want me to do a virtual reading or, or whatever, when I'm in New York City, I do readings in New York City. But if you want me to do a virtual reading, I'm happy to do it. Please get in touch. I'm easy to find. I'm not that active on social media. I'm very easy to find and contact. So.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Afsaneh. And I look forward to more collaborations with you and Drag Story Hour and also other comrades in this event today. Okay, so I'm going to introduce our last performer. Our last performer, but not least certainly, is Mildred the Lunch Lady. Mildred is a comedian and drag performance artist based out of Pittsburgh. Mildred is an 86-year-old, single, kicking, and looking to mingle, looking for a polar bear zaddy. So send them your way. Okay, Mildred, welcome. Take it over.
Hi, kids. Hi. It's so good to see you. Is this thing on? Is this thing on? I'm 86 years old. I don't know how to work these things. Let me know if it's on, okay? Oh, my gosh. Hi, Georgie. Hi there. Hi, Bootsy. Oh, okay. I think you kids hear me. I'll do a little performance for you. Hold on just 1 second. I don't have Vera here to help me out. She got married again. This is her 16th husband. Okay, kids, let's do this now. Okay, there. Okay. Her name on everybody's lips is gonna be Mildred. The lady serving up the slop, it's gonna be me, Mildred. I'm gonna be a lunch lady. That means somebody everyone loves. They're gonna recognize my eyes, my hairs, my teeth, my ass, my nose. From just some dumb 1960s gal, I'm gonna be Mildred, who says that lunch is not an art. And who, in case I don't die, can say they serve the kids French fries. That's me, kids. Mildred, the lunch lady. Oh my gosh. My script. Take it out of me. Ah. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna wait in line to see. That's me, Mildred. Think of all the sloppy joes. I'll say, have fun, honey. Ooh. And I'll appear in an apron that goes all the way down to my tits. Here a lunch, there a lunch, everywhere a lunch, but always with exquisite taste. I'm a lunch lady. You know what that means, kids. Oh, The kids love me, and I love my kids, and I love them, and they love me, and I love them for loving me. Oh, and that's because everyone loves lunch. It's me, kids. Mildred. I'm so excited to serve you some slop and things. Now we're gonna end this show with a little interview with me, Mildred, the lunch lady.
Amazing. Yes. Can I get some virtual claps? Get all those claps going, everybody. Thank you, Mildred. All right. So awesome. I love that little the tournament from Miss Chicago, Miss Roxy over there. Fabulous. Get it.
You'd never guess I was 86 years old. Let me tell you, honey, the trick to longevity is canned foods.
Oh my
Pickle
goodness.
yourself. Pickle yourself.
All right. I bet it's steamy in that kitchen. All right, Ms. Mildred, I have a few questions for you. Just thank you so much for your performance, for joining us for this Socialist Drag Show. I want to ask you, what drew you to this drag persona?
Oh, you know, honey, I came to this a whiles back because I was thinking, what would the kids love? This all started as just a little fun thing, but really it turned into, what can I do for my community? What can I do for my kids? How can I make sure that all of my kids feel loved and are eating a good balanced lunch? This was very important to me, you know. We're talking about all these things going on in the world. You know, those bunghole boys, those Proud Boys, they loved Robin Williams as Mrs. Doubtfire, honey. They loved it. They loved it. I don't know why they're pretending like they're so shocked now. They loved that movie. And that's why I do what I do. You know, I'm a Mrs. Doubtfire. I want all of my kids to love me. This is something that is for my adult kids and my little kids. Yeah, I love to love. And you know, those Proud Boys, they're so dumb. That name, I thought they was gay at first. I thought they was a bit Nelly. I mean, that name right there. I've been to shows at Fire Island with a party name like that. They're taking from us. That's us.
That's so true. That's so true. I hadn't thought of it like that. I
So
have
jealous of our lovely lifestyles, how much fun we have. They have to go out and just be big meanies, be big bullies. Those were the kind of kids I would not give extra fish sticks to. No.
All right, Miss Thing. I have another question for you. What role do you think that drag has to play in pushing back against the political right and in reimagining our radical spaces?
Well, Pride started as a riot, honey. We all know that Stonewall right there. That started Marsha P. Johnson, trans woman throwing bricks around at the cop cars. Good for her. Those cops were not nice to my kids. No, that's why it's so important for us to be out there, for us to be political, for us to speak our minds. We have a microphone for this community, and it's important what we say and how we make people feel and what we do for the world. You know, this isn't just about me being beautiful. Now, there's a lot more going on than that. You know, I'm a lunch lady. I'm a lover. I'm here to serve my community and my kids. And that's why I hope all the other drag queens take a little bit more lunch into them and give it out to the kids around them. That's why I love these kids, these drag queens. They're doing the story hours for the kids. That's so good. They're giving back. And we need to be doing more like that. Can't all just be pretty Miss Thing right here, honey.
Yes, fabulous. Serving some truths, Miss Thing. All right, Mildred, thank you
And
so
lunch.
much. Oh my God. I have one question. Where can people find you? Where can people follow you? Any upcoming performances before we wrap up?
Oh, I'm an old lady. I don't get out that much. I haven't been doing that much recently. Oh, except I came out with a new television show called The Lunch Line. Now you can watch that on Dumpstar Media. It's very funny. And I like to give a little advice to the kids. We talk about things, debt collection. What do you do about that? What do you do with a cheating spouse? What do you do if your partner is being a little bit nebby? All things like that, and discussing important dietary needs.
Fabulous. Thank you. Great.
The Lunch Line. You can find that on the YouTubes there.
Thank you so much for joining us for this event as well.
Thank you, Hector, for organizing this, honey. This is so important. We need to be getting out and speaking more about this. You've had much better speakers than myself, and I am honored to be a part of it. Thank you so much, honey.
We love you so much. Thank you for coming over with us, and we look forward to organizing more events like these and collaborations as well with drag artists like yourself and others. Great. So I just want to remind folks that this is a fundraiser. Please donate and donate, support our artists, support Tempests. Their info is in the chat box as well. And we're also going to feature our QR code where you can also donate. I just want to say a few words for this event. Again, thanks everyone for attending. As the Tempest Collective, we are a revolutionary socialist collective, and we believe that culture is also a site of struggle. We do not think that culture is a distraction from liberation, right? And so we were really happy to host this event and support Drag Story Hour, drag performers, queer, LGBTQ, and non-conforming folks as well. So thanks everyone for coming today. And we look forward to seeing you in the streets, right? Throwing some bricks and throwing some heels as well. It's been great to have you. It's been great to host this event also. And thanks so much, everyone. Don't forget to donate for our fundraiser. We're going to feature our QR code. I just want to send a shout out to Eric Maloney, Keegan O'Brien, and the Tempest events team who helped put this together. Thanks, everyone, and have a good Sunday.
There's a coalition making all the windows clean. Do you need to catch your breath? Do what best to do is high impact like cardio. Think you might be out of your depth.